What is going on, guys? Welcome back to the Fox Sports The Gambler YouTube channel. My name is Sean Barnard, and I'm the Sixers and NBA insider here at The Gambler. And we finally have an NBA Finals matchup set in stone. The Denver Nuggets will be taking on the Miami Heat, who recently took down the Boston Celtics by a score of 103-84 in Game 7. They did go the length of the distance to Game 7 there. Celtics almost did the impossible, trying to become the first team to come back from that 3-0 hole that so many teams have been unable to climb out of. That record now moves to 0-152 all-time in NBA when the teams go down 3-0 in a series. Boston is now also the first city to have a team eliminated by an ace seed in both the NHL and NBA in the same playoffs. So they almost did it. It looked like it was there. The momentum had turned in Boston's favor, but the Heat were able to just come out and stomp on them. It looked like the Celtics ran out of gas in that matchup. Playing 20 playoff games in the span of 3 series is a lot. But as great as the accomplishment is for the Heat, nobody counted on them. Nobody expected them to make it this far. An impressive path to get to the finals, taking down the Milwaukee Bucks, now the Boston Celtics, the 2 title favorites going into these playoffs. That's an impressive track record there. But they do have to run into the buzzsaw that is the Denver Nuggets. Looking at the odds for this series going in, Nuggets are heavy favorites here. Minus 400 to win the series. The Heat coming at plus 310. That is the second biggest opening odds for a series, biggest favorite in favor of the Nuggets in the past 15 years. The only year that is bigger than that was the Golden State Warriors, the prime Golden State Warriors with Kevin Durant back in 2017-18. They went into that NBA Finals as minus 1,075 favorites. They ultimately did sweep the Cleveland Cavaliers 4-0 in that series. They also had a ridiculous minus 187 preseason line to win the title. So that is just nutty stuff, being minus favorites to win the championship going into the season. That just doesn't happen. So that is a little hat tip to the Golden State Warriors for that. Bob Myers, their GM, recently announced that he is stepping down as well. So there are some big changes on the horizon in Golden State potentially, but can't take away from the era that they did have. But for the moment, we do have the Denver Nuggets and Miami Heat matchup for this NBA Finals. I want to talk about a little bit about each team and what to expect in this series. For starters, the Nuggets, they've looked as strong as possible in this playoff. They are notably the favorite, and for a reason. I mean, Nikola Jokic has taken his game to another level. The 2-time MVP is getting it done in the postseason. To go over the Nuggets as a team a little bit, looking at their regular season stats, they led the NBA in field goal percentage at 50.4%, also were fourth in three-point percentage at 37.9%, and second in assists overall at 28.9 per game. These numbers have been pretty much the same for the postseason, seen a little bit of a slip in efficiency, but it has not shown in the results. Throughout the playoffs, they're shooting 49% from the field, so a little slip from the 50.4 that they averaged during the regular season. And their three-point percentage has gone up to 38.6%. That was first place throughout the playoffs for most of them, but the Heat did overtake that last night in their impressive shooting performance, and the Heat have lived and died by that three-pointer and seen those numbers go up significantly, which I will talk on in a second. The Nuggets also seen their assist step a little bit, going from 28.9 per game in the regular season to 25.9 in the postseason, but there's still been some really good offense, some good efficiency, and as much as the numbers may take a dip, some of that's just natural with the playoffs and how things go, and it absolutely has not hurt them on the floor. The centerpiece is Nikola Jokic, as I mentioned, the 2-time MVP. Looking at his numbers, in the regular season, he averaged 24.5 points, 11.8 rebounds, 9.8 assists per game, 1.3 steals on the defensive end, and also shot a ridiculous 63.2% from the field and 38.3% from three. In the playoffs, he's taken his game to a whole nother level, averaging 29.9 points per game, 13.3 rebounds, 10.3 assists, 1.1 steals, shooting 53.8% from the field and a 47.4% from three. I like that. We see a little bit of a dip in efficiency from the field. I mean, 53% is still a very impressive number and terrific, but by the sky-high standards that he has set, that is a little bit of a notch below. But to me, honestly, that is appealing. One of my critiques about Nikola Jokic, and I've never been the biggest Jokic guy, but one of my critiques has been that he kind of doesn't seem to have that instinct to take over. And as talented as he is as a scorer, and I mean, we see him hit these ridiculous step backs, over the head shots, these ugly looking jumpers that find a way to just go down. He still has that scoring ability, but he is most dangerous as a playmaker, as a passer. That IQ that he has, that ability to see plays developing before they occur, that is his best asset on the floor. And we've seen a ton of teams make schematic changes to how they match up. For example, the Lakers in the last series, they did not have Anthony Davis as the matchup because they would rather have him patrolling the rim, patrolling the paint, taking away those little slip passes and cut passes that Jokic is so effective at. And that's when the Nuggets offense is working at its best, is when that is clicking. But because that is being taken away, we've seen Jokic be more willing to take over. We've seen him taking on the moment in a way that hasn't always been the case. So that is the biggest reason why we see that points per game up by over 5 a game, the efficiency a little down. And the bottom line is he's getting it done in the way the Nuggets need. And that's impressive stuff. This is for sure the best basketball that we've seen from him in the playoffs. And he's been a big part why this team is cooking the way it is. And as great as he has been, I do not want Jamal Murray to get overlooked because I think at times he does when talking about this Nuggets team. There's a lot of elite guards around the NBA, and Jamal Murray is right up there with the best of them. Looking at his numbers on the year, I mean, regular season, he averaged 20 points per game, 4.0 rebounds, 6.2 assists, shot 45.4% from the field and 39.8% from three. He's up these in the playoffs as well, averaging 27.7 points per game, 5.5 rebounds, 1.6 assists. His field goal percentage has gone up at 48% from the field, and 3-point percentage the exact same at 39.8%. This has been the best basketball that we've seen from Jamal Murray since the bubble. Very similar style, ability, and while there's been questions about Jokic with that ability to step up and seize the moment, there never has about Jamal Murray. He can be that guy at times, and he's capable of absolutely catching fire, taking control of the game, and changing it in the Nuggets' favor. And we've seen that for moments in these playoffs, and I expect that to be the case in the final. The biggest thing that has jumped out to me in value for as far as betting-wise in the series is Jamal Murray Finals MVP at plus 1,700. I get it. Jokic definitely has the inside track. He's at minus 360 for that award. Jimmy Butler, the next highest at plus 330. He seems pretty dead set if the Heat are to get the win in the series that the Finals MVP will go to him. That was the case in the conference finals that he got MVP of that series. There was a real argument to be made for Caleb Martin for that award, and Bam Adebayo also had a terrific series. But Jimmy Butler is that guy, is that centerpiece. So I think he is in the running for the Heat. But the reason that I do think that Jamal Murray, there's value in that is while Jokic is absolutely the motor of that team, there are moments where Jamal Murray takes over. And I think if he takes over in some crucial moments, hits that big shot, which frankly he is better positioned for, it is a guard-oriented league, and there's moments where they just put the ball in Jamal Murray's hand and ask him to create, and he delivers a lot. So you get 2 to 3 games where he becomes the main guy. I think he really has an argument for Finals MVP. So while Jokic is definitely the more likely, I think plus 1,700 is worth sprinkling a little on and seeing how things shake out. To talk on the Miami Heat a little bit, I mean, the biggest question I will say is how much do they have left in the tank? This is a team that is competing their heart out, left it all on the floor. It looked like they were dead in the water and out of their energy in those 3 games in which the Celtics came back. But they did manage to push through, find some more, find some energy, find some gas in the tank, and got the job done in Game 7 in convincing fashion. So I was very impressed with the performance that they put on. Looking at their numbers overall as a team, I mean, it was a bad regular season for the Miami Heat team. This is an organization that we've seen get it done on the highest level year in and year out, and it looked like they were just having a down year. Things were not clicking. This team did not have the vibes, did not have the connectivity, did not have the efficient play down in order. In the regular season, they were last in the NBA in points per game at 109.5. They were second in opponents' points per game, so they did play some good defense. Now, some of that is stylistically, but being last in the NBA in scoring and now heading to the NBA Finals is pretty impressive. And some of the biggest reason for that is just the efficiency. It is a make or miss league, and there's no clearer example of that than the Miami Heat. Looking at their percentages from the season, they were 27th in the NBA in 3-point percentage, shot just 34.4% from the field, or from beyond the 3-point arc. And from the field as a whole, they ranked 26th in the NBA, just 46% there. Now, flash forward to the playoffs, which we are seeing, things have turned around. We've seen their scoring numbers increase to 111.7 points per game. Their impressive shooting performance in Game 7. Celtics off to a historically slow start, but not the Heat. They were knocking everything down. Their 3-point percentage in the playoffs is up to 39%, so over 5% increase in that. That's number one across all the playoff teams. And their field goal percentage, while it hasn't made as massive a jump, is up to 47.2%. So still an improvement off the 46% they shot in the regular season. Now, the centerpiece, as I mentioned, is absolutely Jimmy Butler. Looking at his numbers in the regular season, cool, calm, collected, nice numbers. Averaged 22.9 points per game, 5.9 rebounds, 5.3 assists, shot 53.9% from the field and 35% from three. Only attempted 1.5 3-point attempts per game in the regular season. That's all the way up to 3.5 throughout the playoffs, and I could see it even skyrocketing further in the finals. So looking at his numbers overall come playoff time, we know Jimmy Butler has that extra gear more so than anyone across the NBA. Has that dog, has that ability, has that just willingness and ability to turn it on when it matters most, and that's been shown in these postseason. He's averaged 28.5 points per game, 7.0 rebounds, 5.7 assists, His three-point numbers, despite the volume increasing, staying just about the same, hitting 35.6% versus the 35% he connected in the regular season. Seen his field goal percentage take a little bit of a dip, 48.3% in the playoffs. But same thing with Jokic, that comes with the ability and willingness to take over. He has taken some big shots, and he's gotten a little more gun shy than I would like to see, especially towards the tail end of this Celtics series, where he's pump faking a little too much, foul baiting a little too much, which is a downfall of a lot of stars across the NBA, but he still delivers when it matters most. And we've seen those flashes where he takes over. Game 6, which was obviously the Heat heartbreaker on that Derek White tip in to win it. That was Jimmy Butler just kind of sleepwalking through most of that game and then flipping it on when it matters most. Those last 2 minutes, he absolutely turned it on, and it was almost enough to get the job done. He scored the Miami Heat's last 10 points by himself, including those 3 straight free throws with all the pressure on the line, and it ultimately led to just enough time for the Celtics to get that game winner and push it to game 7. And an even bigger credit that the Heat were able to respond and bounce back from that. Another guy that I did want to highlight on the Heat is Caleb Martin. So much is made about Jimmy Butler, and rightfully so. So much is made about Heat culture, but these other guys surrounding him, they deserve credit as well. The Gabe Vincents, the Max Strus, and Caleb Martin specifically has been a guy that's taken his game to another level. Stepping back into the starting lineup for most of these playoffs, they did make the switch. They benched Kevin Love, gave Caleb Martin the opening lineup look, and he has delivered. I mean, in that Celtics series alone, he averaged 19.3 points, 6.4 rebounds, 1.7 assists, shot 60.2% from the field, and 48.9% from three. I get it. It's a 7-game sample size. Those numbers probably can't stay quite that high, but on the playoffs as a whole, he's averaged 14.1 points, 5.7 rebounds, 1.7 assists, shot 56.6% from the field, and 43.8% from three. And that's coming off a regular season in which he averages 9.6 points per game. He shot just 46.4% from the field and 35.6% from three. So a massive increase. And to be honest, I don't think it is any fluke. I think that is Caleb Martin. That is who he is. He's always been a guy who's had a little bit of juice to his game, even dating back to his time at Nevada. And we obviously know his twin brother, Cody Martin, playing for the Hornets. Caleb's absolutely the better of the twins, and he's showing that. I mean, he's been a legitimate co-star, and some of these shots that he's hitting, these are not just like wide open three-point looks. We're talking step backs, self-creation shots. It has been the Caleb Martin show for stretches, and he's taken over. Game 7, it was absolutely the case. Game 6, he showed flashes. It's just been him night in and night out, and that's super impressive. And another key part of this matchup, I mean, Jokic is obviously the main piece for the Nuggets. Bam Adebayo is probably going to be the guy who that responsibility falls on defensively. And to credit Bam, I've also never been the biggest Bam guy, but he's playing the best basketball that I've seen from him in his career. He's playing big. He's stepping up in big moments. He's showing some flashes offensively, creating his own shot. Defensively, he's making some big plays, rotating, making blocks, being active, getting in passing lanes. That's the Bam Adebayo that the Miami Heat need. So that is going to be the matchup that may make or break this series in their career. Jokic is 6-0 and facing the Miami Heat and Bam Adebayo. So he's going to have to step up and deliver it. He's playing his best basketball, so maybe that can change. Overall, my feelings on this series going in, the Nuggets are absolutely the more talented and better team. But you know what? So are the Celtics, and so were the Bucks when the Heat played them. So if Jimmy Butler has 4 more games of magic in him, if this Heat culture can continue producing, I'm not going to fully count him out. If you want to pin me down for a prediction, I'd probably go Nuggets in 6, and that's just out of respect for the Heat. I do think there's at least one game for sure that there will be a Heat game where they just control everything from the start of the game. Jimmy Butler has his fingerprints all over it. I even am going to give him credit and believe that there will be 2. I think the Nuggets are ultimately a little too talented for this to go on for another round. But I do want to recognize both these teams for the way that they have built up their franchises. Neither the Heat nor the Nuggets have skipped any steps in the process to develop a championship contending team. These are not teams that have gone out and signed the marquee free agents. And yes, Jimmy Butler did ultimately sign as a free agent and end up on Miami, but he's been a more central part of building things up than just about any superstar around the league. I mean, the guys that they bring in, both these teams do such a phenomenal job of finding guys that fit the character they want, fit the mindset, fit the style, fit the system, and make up in the areas where their stars lack. Looking at Jokic and the Nuggets, I mean, we know he has his defensive deficiencies, and they bring in a guy like Aaron Gordon to kind of balance that out, be that athletic guy who can go and protect the rim a little bit, make backside rotations, and then cut off ball that we see the way Jokic is able to. This Nuggets team reminds me a little bit The two teams that have kind of stuck out to me as what they kind of remind me of is either the Warriors when they were starting to come into this reign. Now, granted, I don't think we're looking at 4 straight championships for the Nuggets. Who knows if it's still the very beginning of it, but they have a little bit of that feel of like this is a different style of basketball. And the team, I guess, is a little bit closer that I'll give them a comparison is the Spurs in that big three, the Tim Duncan, Tony Parker, Manu Ginobili, that era of Spurs basketball where they truly embraced that team oriented, the passing, the cutting movement, the Greg Popovich led bunch. That this Nuggets team has that type of feel to me too. So I do respect how they are kind of in an era where stars mean more than anything. They're embracing that team style, and this Heat team, to the same extent, they're not afraid of anything. They're not going to back down on anybody. They also have that team oriented style. So I'm excited to see how this series ends up. I do think that we got a terrific matchup for these finals. Forget the big names, forget all the complaints about rating. We are in for some good basketball. So make sure to tune in. I'll be talking about it all week. I'll be on the Daily Ticket with Sean Brace today at 3:30 to talk more about this matchup, more about these games. Make sure to tune in to that. Please drop a like on this video, a subscribe on this channel, drop a comment, let me know how you think this series is going to go, and I'll be back talking with you soon. Peace.